Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about how to graph quadratic equations. All these equations that we've been talking about that have the x squareds in front of them are called quadratic. So first we want to talk about what is a quadratic equation. It's a function that can be described by an equation in the form of, and this should be y equals, ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 0. The graph is shaped like a U, which is called a parabola. So we are currently studying parabolas. Then we have something called the axis of symmetry, which is the fold or the line that divides our parabola, our U, into two matching halves. And then we have something called the vertex, which is the minimum or maximum point of the parabola. Okay, so quadratic function, axis of symmetry, and vertex are two words that you're going to hear a lot. Okay, the maximum is the highest point of the parabola. It's this little point up here. If we have a maximum, then we say that our parabola opens downward. The minimum is the lowest point of a parabola. If we have a minimum, then our parabola opens upward. Very important concept number 1. You can find the equation of the axis of symmetry for the graph of y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 0, by doing y, actually, not y, but x equals negative b over 2a, or the opposite of b over 2a. So if we've got our graph, here's our parabola, our axis of symmetry goes straight down the middle, and our vertex is this point here. So let's try this. So if we're given this equation, y equals x squared minus 4x plus 5, and of course since there is no a value, it's understood to be 1, let's find the axis of symmetry. So here's our formula. X equals negative b over 2a. So in this, a would equal 1, b equals negative 4, and c equals 5. So we would say the opposite of b, negative b, so opposite of negative 4, over 2 times 1, or 2a. Just the same as 4 over 2, which equals 2. So x equals 2. So that means that our axis of symmetry, we're looking at this graph, our parabola is going to come right here. Our axis of symmetry is going to come right down here. Okay, so what is our vertex? So find the coordinates of the vertex of the parabola by plugging in x equals 2 to find the y coordinate. So in other words, once you find your axis of symmetry, you found the x value of a coordinate. Remember, coordinates are written x, y. So you can take this x value and you just plug it right back in to this equation. So once you plug in an x, what you're going to get out is y. So plug in your x value. 2 squared times 4 minus 2 plus 5, you're going to get y. So 4 minus 8 plus 5 equals y. So negative 4 plus 5 equals 1. So our vertex value is at over 2 up 1. So we already know that our axis of symmetry is at 2. Our vertex is exactly at 2 over 2 up 1. So let's take this information and let's graph this equation. Let's graph it using the axis of symmetry and the vertex, because we don't actually know yet excuse me, how to find anything else. So again, we know that our axis of symmetry is here at 2. We know that our vertex is at over 2 up 1. So if I come here and I put my vertex at over 2 up 1, and again I could draw my axis of symmetry here to where I could fold my parabola into two sides, and I'm going to draw a parabola right here. It should be symmetrical. I want symmetrical points. Now I could also know that my y-intercept is up here at positive 5, because if I plugged in zeros here, I would see that y equals positive 5. So I know this parabola is crossing the y right here. Okay, so that's just another piece of information that we'll talk a little bit more about. But that is how you graph a quadratic. So remember, your axis of symmetry is at negative b over 2a. That's x. To get your y, plug that back in, and you can graph any parabola.